So here we're going to learn how to make a frequency distribution in R. So again, this is the R console. This is basically our command window where we type in all of our commands. The first thing we need to do is type in some data. So I do need an example. So I'm going to go over to look at an example. And in this example, we're looking at certain types of tumors and how often they recur and the length of time in months that the tumor actually occurs after chemotherapy. So we have a whole bunch of data here, and I don't know about you, but sometimes when I type in data, I type in things wrong. So I can actually copy this data in to R. It has to be in a very specific format. If you go down into this example, you will find that I actually have the data in here. You can't see it all because it's off the screen, but I do have the data in here, and I can go copy it. So I don't have to type it in and make a mistake. So it's in the right format. If you go to Home, into the home screen of the class, you will see that I actually have a link in here in Homework Solutions. Actually, I'm sorry, in Course Material, I have a link in Chapter 2, and in any chapter that needs it, you'll see a link in the homework to the actual data. So you can actually, I have them all in the right format for R, so you can just copy that in. So you don't actually have to type anything in. You go to that file and it will have the data in the right format for the homework problems. So now I'm going to go back to R, and I'm going to go ahead and paste in that data so you can see all the data is put in there. Macs and PCs act a little bit different with how they do these, so you'll see a little bit of difference from my Mac computer to your PC, but not a whole lot. Mostly you'd see this in one long line on the PC instead of in two lines like on the Mac. But hit enter and then everything will go in. Make sure that you did in fact get the open parenthesis and the closed parenthesis. If you get a little plus sign here, it means you didn't close the parentheses, so just type in a closed parenthesis and hit enter and it'll close it. So now that we have that in there, we are now going to say we want to find out what the max and min is. So we're going to do a summary. I called this time, so we're going to do a summary of time. Remember to close your parenthesis once you open it. Summary just says it wants to summarize the data. If I hit enter, I will now see that my minimum data value was 1, my maximum data value is 59, so I can actually figure out what my class width should be. So I can actually calculate that on here. I can say that I want to find out what is 59 divided minus 1 divided by how many classes I want to have. Let's say I want to have I don't know, what's a good number of classes? Let's just say I want to have 5 classes. So I would do 59 minus 1 in parentheses, so it does that first, and then divided by is a slash by 5, and hit enter. 11.6, remember we always round that up, so we're going to do a class width of 12. So rounding that up. So now I'm going to tell it to break up my number line. So I'm going to do breaks equals, and I want to do a sequence from 1 to, now you don't want to just go up to 59 because your top one might go beyond that, so pick some number above 59. 65 would probably be enough. And then we say we want to do by 12 because 12 is what we figured out the class width should be. So hit enter. You don't see it do anything. It actually did. If you want to see what it did, you can actually type in breaks and it'll show you what it actually created. And it shows you that it created a class that starts at 1, the next one starts at 13, the next one starts at 25, the next one starts at 37, 49, and up to 61. Alright, so now that we have that's figured out, we're then going to go ahead and cut our variable based on those. So we're going to call this time.cut. It's just to give it a name. You could call it anything you want. It just makes sense to call it time.cut just to make it easier on us. And then we're going to equal that to cut. That's a command is to cut. We're going to cut our variable of time using the breaks that we just came up with. And then because it might not know what to do with some values that hit right on the endpoint, we're going to say right equals false. Notice the false is in capital letters, which means that if it hits on the right endpoint, it won't go into that class, it'll go into the next one. And that's all we have to do, and then close your parenthesis and hit enter. Again, you don't see it do anything, and that's okay. We did actually do something. The next thing we want to do is kind of make a frequency table. So I'm going to call that time.frequency, and that's going to equal table time.cut, because I want it to create a table out of that time.cut I just created. Hit enter. Again, you didn't see it do anything, but now if you type in time.frequency, you will see it actually did create a table. It tells you that we go from 1 to 13, and there's 6 data values there. 13 to 25 has 10, 25 to 37 has 5, 37 to 49 has 13, and 49 to 61 has 8 data values. So these numbers down here are your frequencies, and these are your classes. Notice that it's an open on the right hand side, and that's because we said the false of that. So now you just make a nice table out of that, and you're good. And that's all you have to do to create a frequency distribution in R. Again, you will now create the table somewhere else, in Word or something, just to make a pretty table out of it.